Falling in love with Jesus. Falling in love with Jesus. Falling in love with Jesus was the best thing I've ever.
Romans. Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 4. And while we are on our way there, let me poll the house. How many of you here today who desperately need a miracle? There's something in your life that you're up against, you're dealing with, you're trying to overcome. There's no way up, there's no way around, there's no way under, there's no way through. You need a miracle. God knows about the miracles that we need in our lives, and I want to share with you how to believe God for a miracle. Are you interested? Romans chapter 4 gives us, in verse 17, gives us a definition of a miracle. This will be our working definition of the miracle. Paul says, as it is written, I have made you a father of many nations, talking about Abraham. He is our father in the sight of God, in whom he believed. God who gives life to the dead and call things that are not as though they were. God gives life to the dead, and he called things that are not as though they were. Maybe you missed it. God gives life to the dead and called things that are not as though they were. Well, maybe the balcony's with me today. God called, dead things back to life. He speaks those things that don't even exist as if they do. Those two phrases tells us two types of miracles that God does. The first type of miracle that God does is he gives new life to something that's dead. God specializes in bringing life out of death. God does that physically, where health is just a restoration of life. He does that emotionally. A dead relationship can be restored. A dead marriage can be revived. God can bring those dead things that are considered dead back to life. He does that spiritually. When God brings new life to a church, it's called revival. God gives new life to some things that are dead. The second type of miracle is when God creates something out of nothing. God can take chaos and cause cosmos. God can take nothing that exists and speak a word, and that nothing becomes something. He calls those things that are not as though they were. God creates something out of nothing. He don't have something existing and take what's existing and recreate it or make it and produce something. God takes nothing, and just by the power of his word, he can speak that nothing into existence, and nothing becomes something. The NAS says he calls into being that which does not exist. Why don't you marinate that for a while, chew on that God calls those things that into being that does not exist. Again, God does two types of miracles. He resurrects something that's dead. He gives new life to it. He creates something out of nothing.